So, for the first time, I use my new camera. And for now, I'll see about getting used to using it right here in the same place I'm used to recording, and then we'll see about getting out and about with it. It's pretty cold today anyway, so I probably wouldn't want to go out. Gosh, folks, I didn't even brush my hair or anything. Oh well, you know, it's just a body, as I'm fond of saying. Now, I have a journal that I'd like to share with you. It's one I kind of held off on. It has to do with ETs. I'm not a contactee. And, oh, I don't know. I think most of us have these experiences in our dreams at night, or we actually have them in full waking consciousness, but the memory is taken from us. And I guess I'm a little resentful of that. Tired of feeling like not so much a lab rat, but just such a junior member of life, you know, that I don't get to have a say in how things are done. And so we get interfered with. And I have to admit, I have not worked my way through this energy. And so what you're seeing here is me addressing and processing some of that. Now, this journal is from, it's from October 14th. It was the first one of that day. The Mayan day was 12 Transformer. Now, when you get up into the 10, 11, 12, and 13, you're getting into a culmination of a cycle. The Mayan week, if you will, is, for us, it's a 13-day period. And so, instead of just a 7-day cycle, theirs is 13. And so, the last days of the cycle are the culmination where things are just, you don't have to do anything about it. This is just, the Mayans were in tune with how nature itself works. And so they are reporting that toward the end of the cycle, like I say, 10 through 13, is putting everything together that's gone on in that cycle. It's a beautiful thing to begin just to follow the Mayan calendar the way you follow the regular one. Just to be aware of what the day and date is, you know, what the sun sign and the number is. And, you know, the Mayan Magics, MAJIX.com, will give you everything you need to do that. And in my older journals, I have links in every journal over to that website where you can find out your Mayan birthday, for instance. Mine was, gosh, I have forgotten now. 3 Jaguar. It's either 3 Jaguar or 4 Eagle because I was born in the middle of the night. So there's the question there. It is total nonsense, my friends, that in the midst of the darkness we say, oh, the new day has begun. BS, okay? This is just evidence of how far out of touch with nature we've gotten. And the whole thing with the Mayan calendar, that has been my experience. Now, I have to admit, I heard this ahead of time, but I have experienced that it gets you back in touch with something, with spirit, with nature, with something. It's plugged into a flow. It accurately reports a certain flow. So, this was written on one of those days, a 12 Kame, or 12 Transformer. It's called How Do We Wake Up? Greeting Pleiadians, Resolving Issues, Whom to Trust. And when I'm finished with it, if I feel right about it, I've also got a good bit on my chest about the Greys. And I may well speak up about that. Okay. What is to say here? I really don't know. I just know that feeling of something arising from deep within. Something wanting to come out and be recognized, to be noticed, recorded in some way. There's some heart processing that wants to be done. How are you doing on your sense of self? Have you taken it beyond body yet? Well then, okay, how about beyond mind? That's the tricky one. How's that coming? Are you able right now to drop down into your center and to read or to listen, if you're watching the video, from that central point? Do you practice this at all during the day? It can become such a strong force if you set your intent that way that it can overtake your days and enter into your nights, this heart centering. It's precious. At first, I know it seems alien to abandon the kingship of one's mind world. No, to abandon the kingship of mind in one's world. That seems so very strange, doesn't it? Surely it does. We've been taught to believe that we are the mind. We identify with it that way. Do you know why? Well, see, I interject and then I goof myself up. Okay, so do you know why this is? Well, at least one main reason we find being centered and living from that space very strange is because we've been programmed right out of there, right from birth, as were our parents and their parents and so on back many thousands of years. So, just be in heart, sense from there, feel from there, even think from there. You can do it. It will be different, but you won't find mind completely absent from this space. Or shall we say, you'll find mind's functions still available there. I'm still not totally clear on, I've got kind of a dualistic thing going on the lower mind and higher mind, if you will. That hasn't come totally clear for me, so I admit that, I see it. So, what is this processing I'm doing here? What is arising? I have slowly, so slowly, been opening myself more to the other inhabitants of my space. Now I'll step out here and say this is well before it came, the other journal, the more recent one, where I just absolutely opened the door. That hadn't happened yet. I've had them, and this is like angels and ETs and things, solidly shut out for quite some time so that I could first more solidly find myself. Only then would I be willing to engage with these other beings, other selves, other intelligences, other dimensions and star systems who are now so very present with Earth and with us as we transition up into their space, at least some of them. Had you thought of it that way? That from one perspective, we're in process of invading their space, their dimensions and such? Well, it's a valid perspective, as most are. Do consider that. Envision the fractal. Now, and stay in heart. You can visualize in heart too. You can do everything in heart. You're so full and complete in heart, it's freaking awesome. Okay, so envision the fractal. Now, see how a change made anywhere, absolutely anywhere, makes its difference felt everywhere. That's reality, my friends. So, what we do already affects them in many ways, ways we cannot yet be fully aware of, but they can share with us if we will be open to them. So that's what is going on. I have been shut down to them for so long now. I sense a certain built-up desire on their part to share and communicate. Well, we'll see. This morning, believe it or not, I've been working with or on my resentment or negative feelings around the Pleiadian race. Now, I don't care how illogical and totally nonsensical it is to brand a whole group of beings for what one or some of them did. Feelings don't bother with trying to be intelligent. They just are. And it's best to take them that way, at least initially, to just let them be like that. Don't try to educate your feelings. It's kind of a dumb pursuit. So, as I've shared with you in other journals, I have a sort of ladder of levels of overall trust I have for certain groups of ETs, extraterrestrials, beings in spirit. I mean, you know, some of these are from other dimensions, so they're not extraterrestrial. At the top of my trust list, which doesn't really exist, of course, this is metaphorical, are the Sirians from the star Sirius A. Next come the Andromedan race. I love the Arcturians as well, but they seldom make themselves heard or known. One has to seek them out, unlike these others who are more present, more talkative, so to speak. They seem to have a privacy around them, the Arcturians. I don't know. Finally, well, this is funny. Finally, always at the bottom of the list, I have placed the Pleiadians, everlast. Now, I'm going to step out of here and say, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this thing or what I was feeling. I was clearly working on this Pleiadian thing because I have to tell you, the Greys are at the bottom. And they work together so much with the Dracos and the Reptilians. To me, that's all one group. So they're at the bottom. The Pleiadians are definitely above that. But anyway, I'll continue with the processing. Okay, at the bottom of the list, the Pleiadians. They have so much to share that is so valuable, and yet I have feelings of terrible mistrust and resentment for them deep inside, unexamined. They are so very deep that the conscious mind has no access yet to their origin or cause, but it will. I'm finally open to that. I'm seeking it out. I've lived with these feelings long enough, looked at them from different angles often enough to be ready for them to just heal. Looked at from the perspective of mind, which I do cautiously, as you know. These feelings are just nuts. First of all, the Pleiades is a group of some 7 stars. I mean, Sirius only has 3. Some say our sun is the 8th Pleiadian star of the group. So, how could one lump all of those beings together on all of the planets revolving with all of those stars and be angry with them all? I mean, it's hilarious. My gosh, I hesitate to even imagine how many planets there are there. And there's life on stars too, just on higher densities or dimensions for really high vibrating beings. So, what's with that? Do you have any deep-seated feelings in your world, your life, that seem this illogical? This out of sync with who and what you are in this life? Have you considered the possibility that its origin is from other lifetimes? I'm sure many of you have. Really deep feelings like this don't lie. Now, we can be deceived. We can have things inserted into our consciousness. But, you know, all we do is our best, folks, to get down to what's true and what's real deep inside. There are layers and layers and levels of deception that is practiced on us. Programming has put a lot of deceptive type things within us. Even the ETs, when we have meetings with them, take away the memory of that. Now, okay, maybe it's to be gentle and all of that. We don't know at this point. But don't trust totally. Even a memory that comes up, watch it. Do the watch and observe thing. I've been doing that with this for some time. Okay, so no matter how the mind tries to judge them, these feelings, or repress or suppress them right out of existence, since they make no sense to mind, there they are. Such feelings don't go away like that, though they may give you a short break, a reprieve. However, things repressed, when they reappear, will even be stronger, more intense. You know, you move from the feather and work your way up to the 2x4 or the railroad tie if that's what you need. This is how we transition from source, using the feather. See, there I go again, using the feather to get our attention onto the shout, then the baseball bat, the 2x4, and if you're really dense, onto the railroad tie that tears your life up by the roots, presents you with a new one in a new conformation. Well, folks, it's a choice. At what stage we wake up to what's going on inside. We can't plead ignorance of all of this, since on some level we quite know what's going on. So we live with that dichotomy, that paradox of the knowing and the not knowing. Once we begin awakening, it naturally comes with realizing that though some decisions are being made in our superconscious mind, that's still us. Though we hold most beliefs at the subconscious or unconscious levels of mind, it's still our mind. It doesn't matter that the poor conscious mind doesn't yet have access to these mysterious regions of self. They're still self, and we know that somehow. Yeah, that's right. All that falling apart that may be going on there in your life has its origin, its development like that. When we look back with clear-sighted hindsight, the best kind, we see the feather at work back there where we didn't notice at the time, or where we just brushed it off. How does one do that? By ignoring intuition. Even worse, by denying. Next, by repressing or suppressing what is coming up to be seen and dealt with. And that's the march from feather to railroad tie. It's always by choice, even though the mind, the conscious mind, likes to think otherwise. Now, these choices may have been made subconsciously. How is that? Many choices are made automatic by our choice of beliefs. Our beliefs not only control our reality, they control what we can see, and of course, how we see it. Hey, beliefs are quite powerful things. Why do you think the dark side has worked so hard to program their chosen beliefs into us anyway? This is clearly a mechanism of control. Now, remain in heart with me. Some tend to leave there at first mention of the dark side and slip into mine, and that's too bad. Why is that? Eventually, we'll see that the dark side is really us. I don't want to go there now, since one gets there via a journey, and we aren't far enough yet down that road. Hi again. My first adventure with my Sony Handycam has been very interesting. I had bought a memory stick to use with it, but I didn't have a card reader that would read it, so, you know, it's been interesting. Anyway, now that I'm getting ready to convert and patch the pieces together and make a video out of this, I found that I skipped a few paragraphs, so that's why I'm coming back in now, and oh my goodness, now all the formatting on my document has been changed. Oh, what a day it is. Okay. And learn to spot fear when it arises. That's what kicks us out of heart. So we just drop back down to center again. So I hope that many are choosing to take this journey with me to begin to become responsible, awakened beings who realize and recognize that all facets of mind, subconscious, unconscious, conscious, and superconscious, or higher self, if you will, are just us. We've been programmed to point fingers of blame at others when bad things happen. We've been programmed to believe that bad things can happen. That what seems so negative to mind is actually bad. Well, it's not. Are you there with me yet? Can you see how it is that everything, absolutely everything, brings blessing, no matter what? Maybe not right in the instant we won't see it, but that doesn't mean the blessing isn't there. Are your eyes open to this perspective yet? Have you tried it on, really given it a chance? You can do this just by exercising some hindsight, you know. That's why we say hindsight is 20/20, that is perfect vision. Because with hindsight, we can look back and see the blessing, the benefit, the gain. Now, those more firmly in mind than you are might not be able to see this just yet, even with hindsight and good intent. Why not? Because of their current beliefs. They still blind them too much. This is a path of surrender, of letting go, and the main things to let go of are our beliefs, such as the belief that you have to suffer, no pain, no gain, that, you know, belief in karma, belief in all kinds of things. We keep these things going by our belief in them, and we don't know that that's how things work. Okay, so we need to let go beliefs, attitudes, and ideas that we have held to be true. They are not. And it's really that simple, but again, it's a path, it's a journey into finding that out for yourself. On first hearing it, it sounds a bit crazy. And yes, of course, to the mind. Okay, so this is the end of this little section. How do I turn it off? Oh my gosh, this is wild. Hi again. Well, I'm still getting used to my new camera, so pardon the... I'll link these together. I was recording and it made a little beep, and I suspected the beep might mean something, but I didn't know what it meant. So I just kept on with my journal, only to have it stop. So I don't know, you know, I'm working it out, sorry. So back to the journal. I changed the settings and made it widescreen with no lights, because as you can see, rainbow time is beginning, and I love to share that. Alright, so I still recommend the great work of Dimitri Halley for helping to unblock you if you've gotten stuck at any point in seeing how you are projecting your inner self and making it appear as your outside life. I can share with you that at some point along this journey you will actually see or begin to see how there really is no outside at all. It's all just our insides being made visible that way. And I'll step out of it again. I guess this is going to be a long one, folks. I looked and I realized, oh my God, this is a 10-page journal, and I've done a lot of yakking meanwhile, so whatever. Okay, me. How am I? I want to let you know I don't have a total inner experiential awareness that everything outside of me is really my insides. I have a middling awareness of that. The mind accepted it a good while back, and it's gone deeper than just a mental acceptance. And I do, especially when I center in heart, I do what I find inside is easy contact with the center of things. For instance, that tree out there. I find if I anchor in my heart and look at the tree, I also feel myself in the heart of the tree. but I still have the sense of two-ness, of duality. And I'll be doing a journal. It hasn't been written or come forward yet, but there's on the fact that duality is not a dirty word. It's how we experience. If all we had was the oneness, we wouldn't have this cosmos, and we wouldn't have the ability to dance and play on the stage the way we do in these human bodies and so on. And so there's a beauty in duality. But I don't want to get off on that right now. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you kind of where I am with the sense that the outside is the inside. Now, it's not a problem if it's never a problem. There are no problems. However, it's not an issue if you don't see this fully just yet, that the outside is the inside. It's important to be where you are and to accept that, to be true to yourself. Just because I or someone else says something like this, and you may want to believe it, don't go there. Just drop it into heart as a possibility, a preference, shall we say. If it's not seen as true in your life right now. And that's enough. That is staying in integrity with your own space, your own path. No more beliefs. We don't need them. Don't turn things into belief. Okay. It is fun to see how our spiritual path opens up and brightens us too. Illumines our life. So many more things just drop into place. There's quite a joy in that, eternal serendipity. I hope you can find and stick with your own inner joy. It's there. You can actually trust me on that, though don't make it into a belief. Instead, look inside. Look deeply for this belief. And if you deeply for this joy. And if you don't find it, just let it go. Just surrender that. You will. It's there. It's real. Okay, if you don't find it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means you've got some beliefs to excavate out of the way. Some beliefs blocking your experience of true inner joy. What do you do? How do you deal with that? Well, it works for me just to consciously choose a belief that I like, such as the belief that this deep inner joy really does exist right within me, and then set my intent to discover that. Setting intent I find to be very powerful. This is how we begin to change our current, mostly pre-programmed set of beliefs, and how we make use of free will. So, when you set the first intent that this joy does exist, then you just drop it. You just let it go. And then just watch. Stay in heart. What happens for me often is that many conflicting beliefs begin to surface when I do that. They just come up into awareness, just appear there in my thought. Well, if I am reasonably centered in the watch and observe mode, I'll just watch. No, I won't engage the mind. There's no need to. You already set that intent. That was your part. Now, just watch. And yes, I know it feels foreign at first. We think we always have to do something. At the very least, to engage in this or that thought that arises. Well, we don't. It's really okay to just watch. See what happens. You can watch it happen all by itself. You can thus watch the inner self at work. And no, I won't tell you the outcome, and that would be ridiculous anyway, for it will be unique for each one. It's enough to have an outline, some overall idea of how things may work. Now, they may or may not work this way for you. I don't know. That's your lookout. You've got your own path, your own life. I'm just sharing mine, so don't trust, just explore. Trust your own self, and maybe that's the point here, or at least one of them, an important one. Another part of what waking up looks like for me is this self-trust. This one hurts quite a bit as it arises, transitions in your life. Why is that? Well, because in order to trust the self, we've first got to withdraw our trust from all those external places where we have vested it. And there are many. And they appear sort of in layers, going down deep and then deeper until we get to the most dearly held ones. These hurt the most to see and turn loose of, naturally. What I've found is that I had actually vested a part of myself in all those places of trust. I'd given away a part of me into their keeping. I didn't know it at the time, of course. We don't. And furthermore, these things all brought their benefit to me, and that's a fact. It's not that I'm turning on them, turning against them now. I'm not. I'm just pulling that blind trust back. It's not healthy to give parts of the self away like that. I can still deeply respect those whom I once trusted rather blindly. No problem with that. The relationship is different, though. Many of you already know what I mean. We're doing this together. You stand taller somehow in that relationship. You find that you had somehow taken a subordinate role to that one. That one was wiser, more intelligent, more experienced, whatever it was. We looked up to him or her, or even to an organization, and that's a fact. When looked at from some distance, after more surrender of beliefs, it is easily seen how we went into a sort of automatic mode around that one. We didn't have to think so much. If that one said something, well, it must be so. We accepted it. If we didn't see it as so in our life, then we just trusted that we would see it that way eventually. And this is how we gave away a piece of the self. Now we're returning all of those pieces, bringing each one back home. You'll be amazed at how you are somehow increased as each portion of self returns home. You are somehow more conscious. And that's a challenge to get, so be in heart. There's more of you than there was before. You were broken in that portion of self, and now you're whole. You've brought your trust back to where it belongs, back to center, back to higher self. So maybe you've even been trusting me in that way. I see many of you seeing this just now. That feels rather strange, doesn't it? To see it like that? It throws you off balance a bit, for you've gotten used to it being like that. Trusting me. Trusting what comes through me. Well, just drop it down into heart that you would far rather trust your own inner self than anyone, anything external to that. And that's enough. That will do it. You'll still be connected with me, only it will be higher self to higher self. It's a better connection. Thus will the inner process get its start. You'll find all the mind's objections rising to the surface, all sorts of things, like, I just know she is right. It can't. It just feels so right to me inside. Things like that. Well, remember to just watch them. Observe the play of mind and see how the inner self handles that. Don't interfere. Don't judge. Try not to think. Watch the thoughts. Don't join them. Just observe. Your inner self is perfectly able to handle such things. That's where we vest our trust. You see, investing all of this trust outside of that one, what we have done is to distrust the self. We chose not to rely on the inner one, to even know that it was there. We thus distanced the self little s from the self capital S. A bit of a sad state to be in, but now this is the time of rejoicing. The lost one, the prodigal, is coming home. Be at peace. Be in joy. Let your inner divinity do its work. This is not your work to do. You're still too bound up in the workings of mind, my friend. More distance is required from that, more surrender of beliefs. At some point, though, you will find yourself merging with this inner one more and more, as you have used your free will to do so by taking responsibility for all the aspects of mind, the four that I mentioned previously: subconscious, unconscious, conscious, and superconscious. You're now able to reconnect this way. It wasn't possible before, what with all those beliefs running interference every time you tried to connect with what you perceived was a truth. It was chaos, and will still be for some time, most likely, until we clean out the stable with Hercules, the Aegean stables where we tend and feed and exercise our beliefs. They're all garbage. No beliefs are quite true. Yet we don't go through life without any beliefs. If we didn't believe things like the lines in the road were there for everyone's benefit, it would be just chaos. What we're doing here is distinguishing between useful and not useful beliefs. So we kick out everything that disagrees with the beliefs we now choose to adopt. As I've said, the way we do this is just to watch and observe. If you're not in heart right now, you're probably not watching this anymore. This makes no sense at all. There is a heart sense that is more feeling or sensing based. It's quite different than a mind sense or a head sense. For me, as you know, heart trumps head every time, but you've got to come to that as you will, not as I say. Your path is not mine, and you're in charge of that. Just let what I say, what the ones you have trusted before say, be as advice, perhaps as wise counsel, but not food for belief. Be your own judge of things internally. Be totally true to yourself, your inner sensings, feelings, intuitions, your inner joy, while at the same time realizing that you've still got a lot of interfering beliefs on board that need to be let go, that color your current perception. And you can trust that they will come up into your consciousness, into your awareness, as they need to be, in the appropriate, perfect order for release. Do you see how this works? This has helped me, has this helped me make things clearer for you? It has for me. Sometimes, so many times, when I hear or read something, it just feels right on the spot. And I don't know why this is, it just does. What I'm discovering more and more is that I already knew that, whatever it is. It is an inner knowing that brings on that resonant feeling from within. So if that be the case, then nobody can tell us anything we don't already know on some level. Now, be sensible, please. Obviously, I'm not talking about just the conscious mind here. Remember, we're taking responsibility for the greater self, for all four aspects of mind, even those we don't have conscious access to. We've got to get used to owning that. Until we do, we won't be comfortable claiming this inner knowing I discuss. Trust all your feelings of discomfort, folks. This is your inner self talking to you. Pay attention. That's my best advice. Now, I'll quit for now. Be abundantly blessed. That's my prayer and intent for each of these journals, that we all benefit. Good day. Now, this one was so long already, and I didn't even really get deep into the Pleiadian thing. So clearly I'll be doing more journals and discussing that and the thing around the grays. So I'll call a halt here. Now let me see how I turn this thing off. We're getting used to it. Thanks, Christian, by the way. Thank you so much. Is me addressing and processing some of that. Now, this journal is from, it's from October 14th. It was the first one of that day. The Mayan day was 12 Transformer. Now, when you get up into the 10, 11, 12, and 13, you're getting into a culmination of a cycle. The Mayan week, if you will, is, for us, it's a 13-day period. And so, instead of just a 7-day cycle, theirs is 13. And so, the last days of the cycle are the culmination where things are just, you don't have to do anything about it. This is just, the Mayans were in tune with how nature itself works. And so, for the first time, I use my new camera. And for now, I'll see about getting used to using it right here in the same place I'm used to recording, and then we'll see about getting out and about with it. It's pretty cold today anyway, so I probably wouldn't want to go out. Gosh, folks, I didn't even brush my hair or anything. Oh well, you know, it's just a body, as I'm fond of saying. Now, I have a journal that I'd like to share with you. It's one I kind of held off on. Gosh, I had forgotten now. 3 Jaguar. It's either 3 Jaguar or 4 Eagle because I was born in the middle of the night, so there's the question there. It is total nonsense, my friends, that in the midst of the darkness we say, oh, the new day has begun. BS, okay? This is just evidence of how far out of touch with nature we've gotten. And the whole thing with the Mayan calendar, that has been my experience. Now, I have to admit, I heard this ahead of time, but I have experienced that it gets you back in touch with something, with spirit, with nature, with something. It's plugged into a flow. It accurately reports a certain flow. It has to do with ETs. I'm not a contactee. And, oh, I don't know. I think most of us have these experiences in our dreams at night, or we actually have them in full waking consciousness, but the memory is taken from us. And I guess I'm a little resentful of that. Tired of feeling like not so much a lab rat, but just such a junior member of life, you know, that I don't get to have a say in how things are done. And so we get interfered with. And I have to admit, I have not worked my way through this energy. And so what you're seeing here is, so they are reporting that toward the end of the cycle, like I say, 10 through 13, is putting everything together that's gone on in that cycle. It's a beautiful thing to begin just to follow the Mayan calendar the way you follow the regular one. Just to be aware of what the day and date is, you know, what the sun sign and the number is. And you know, the Mayan Magics, MAJIX.com, will give you everything you need to do that. And in my older journals, I have links in every journal over to that website where you can find out your Mayan birthday, for instance. Mine was